UFC Vegas 100. We've finally reached the century mark for these Apex cards. In this monumental event is headlined by Carlos Prates and Magny. Should be a great card, but a couple of things first. Shout out to you guys in the comment section from last week, the defenders of root beer. It was super coincidental that root beer became the contentious topic in the comments last week, because also on Saturday prior to the Edmonton card, I actually ran a root beer and bagel off-road half marathon. So it was really funny that happened to also be the week that root beer was the topic of discussion down there in the comments. So shout out to you guys for defending root beer, the true heroes of the comment section. Also, real quick for Edmonton card, our picks were just, we did okay. But the thing that was best was the bets. We crushed it on the bets. We should have gone 5-5 on our top 5 bets, or our top bets. We just happened to have 5 of them. But the problem is Garrett Armfield got robbed, so we went 4-1. Not bad. Not bad. So 4-1 on the bets. Love it. You can find those bets over on patreon.com/138MMA. The link is in the description of this video. That's all the plug we need to give for that. I'll see you guys. Interesting fight here at middleweight. We have Tresean Gore coming back after a pretty long layoff, a few injuries, things like that. He takes on Antonio Trocoli. And Trocoli has had a very strange UFC career. He's 3-1 in a no contest in his last 5 fights, 12-4 on the career, but had just some wild, just whenever this guy's scheduled to fight, something weird happens, right? So far, this is in. No changes have been made, and that's what we're shooting for. Let's hope that this happens. 3-2 on the other side for Gore in his last 5, but he's only 4-2 on his career. He's only had 6 professional fights. That's wild. So here we are. We got Trocoli, who is way taller and longer. I think he's got like 5 inches of height, 5 inches of reach, and that's going to be something that's definitely going to play a factor here. He uses his length very well in the striking. He is a pretty good striker for being a jiu-jitsu guy. I would downgrade this to decent if it wasn't for the fact that he just has such a natural advantage with the length. I think that's going to make him look like a good striker in this matchup. And he has pretty good power as well. His jiu-jitsu is good. He's got good jiu-jitsu. Uses his length extremely well. His takedowns in the open mat aren't so great, but up against the cage, he's got pretty good takedowns. And he uses his ground and pound very well to set up his submission attempts. On the other side, we got Tresean Gore, who decent striker with a ton of power. That's what he has, a nice high guard and lands big power shots, but he doesn't have enough volume, and he often just waits for his opponents to finish before he throws his stuff. And that can be a problem, especially when he's going to be at range against Trocoli, because if he's waiting for him to finish and Trocoli's keeping his range well with those long shots, when he is finally done throwing his combinations and Gore goes to throw back at him, he's got a big distance to cover. That could be a problem for him. I could see him swinging and missing quite a bit, but if he does land, Trocoli's in trouble because this dude hits really hard. He's a big, powerful dude, muscles the size of freaking cannons. So that's what we got. But decent grappler. He has his wrestling. He has decent takedowns. If he gets on top of you, you could be in trouble. The ground and pound can be there, things like that. Got a really tight squeeze when he starts going for a choke. Basically, Gore is a pretty good foundation for building a skill set on, but he's still so young in his career, even though he's been around a long time, because the injuries have kept him out, things like that. I got to go with Trocoli because I just can't pick Gore at this level at this current point in his career. I got to go with Trocoli. I think he's going to get it done. I think what happens is he stays at range in the striking, lands his shots there, and if it does get to the mat, I think he's a better grappler. So realistically, I got to go with him. This could be an interesting spot, I think, for the fight pickers this week. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Bantamweight, where Cortavious Romious makes his UFC debut after a successful stint on the Contender Series, where he went 1-1. He takes on Gaston Balanos, who has had a bit of a rough run in the UFC. He's 2-3 in his last 5, 4-1 for Romious. Now, Balanos, he's a striker. He's a Muay Thai guy that came to MMA, and striking is what he does, right? He's a good striker with plenty of power, dynamic attack. His spinning elbows are very, very good. In fact, usually you see the plus-minus by spinning stuff for me because there's a lot of red flags about it. Spinning elbow is just legit. It's solid, so we like it. But he can be a bit wild at times. His submission defense is what's really cost him in the past. Now, I understand he lost that decision, was it last fight or two fights ago? Last fight he got knocked out by McGee. 2 fights ago, where he showed that he can defend some submissions in that fight. So it is improving. And he worked back to his feet quite a bit in that fight, which is something you like to see. But he's definitely a striker, and in the grappling department, he's going to be at a severe disadvantage here. Because he's going against Cortavious Romious, who in the striking is, he's decent. He's got good forward pressure, a fast 1-2, plenty of power, and he's got a very heavy leg kick. But that leg kick oftentimes is a problem for him because he doesn't really set it up and just throws it naked. And what happens is if you're doing that against a guy like Balanos, you're going to get cracked. So I do think that is something he's going to have to worry about here. In the grappling department, he's the better grappler by a lot. So if Romious is getting this fight to the mat, he's winning this fight. If he's doing that consistently, that is. It's good scrambles. He can chain his takedowns really well. He's got a really good rear naked choke to armbar sequence. Like he'll go for the rear naked, and if you're blocking that, he'll shove the head off to the side and collect the arm as he does it and flip that leg over the top and snatch up the armbar, which is, you don't see that much in MMA. It's very, very skillful. But the problem is he's not as active off his back. I don't think that's going to be a problem for him here. I think this is pretty much just like not a worry for him because Balanos isn't shooting takedowns on him. And I don't think he's reversing position if he gets taken down. So realistically, it comes down to if Romious is going to get the takedowns, he should win the fight. If this stays on the feet, Balanos should win the fight. I'm going to take Balanos. I think he's going to be able to land a couple of big shots, wobble Romious, and either get the win via decision or get the TKO. So let me know what you guys think. Bantamweight's next. Melissa Mullins takes on Klaudia Sygula. Sygula is 5-0 in her last 5 fights, 4-1 on the Mullins side. If I'm saying Sygula wrong, bear with me. Trying UFC debut. So, and the regional tape is in a different language, so bear with me. Anyway, so for Sygula, good striker, right? She's got good combinations, good volume. She will get a little bit wild at times, but her striking is pretty good. The problem that she has thus far in her career has been the takedown defense, at least from what we've seen on the limited sample size. Level of competition is pretty low. Hard to really get a good gauge, but she did get taken down, and that's basically what cost her that one fight that she did lose. And the takedown defense was just wasn't there at all. So on the other side, we got Melissa Mullins. She's only got one loss in her career as well, and she looked very bad in that fight. So there is that. A lot of people are down on her now. But I do think she's the more complete fighter here, where she has decent striking, good jab, good volume. Her defense in the striking is horrible. Doesn't move her head whatsoever. Just gets hit just right on the center line. But the grappling, she is much better. Now, she has decent takedowns, but once she gets the fight to the mat, very good top pressure, very good ground and pound volume, and she really tries to get that finish when the fight gets to the mat. This one's very cut and dry. Mullins should be able to get the takedowns. If she doesn't, she's in trouble. But she should be able to get the takedown. So we're going to take Melissa Mullins. Let me know what you guys think. And next, Cody Stamann takes on Damon Blackshear. Both of these guys are 2-3 in their last 5 fights. Both of them, bit of a rough run. Stamann's been around for a lot longer. He's been in the UFC for quite some time. Fought the who's who of the division. Blackshear, a little newer, but he's taken a lot of short notice fights. So he gets a little leeway in some of those losses, you would assume, at least from the UFC side. But anyway, let's break down the skills. Blackshear, good grappler with a very large toolbox. He likes to take the back, and he looks for chokes, whether that be from the back or in top position, whatever. He does look for the chokes. That is his go-to. His grappling is very, very solid, very skillful there. And I think even if this fight ends up on the mat, which is where both guys are probably at their best, I think it's going to be competitive, even though you would look at the credentials maybe on the side of Stamann and think he might be the better grappler. I think it's going to be close. In the striking, Blackshear's definitely got more power. He is a good striker with plenty of power, lands big shots. Dude hits hard, right? And he's got a pretty substantial reach advantage, like 6 inches or something like that. It's a lot. It's more than, it's a decent amount. He's taller, he's longer, all that stuff, and he is never out of a fight. We've seen this guy down in fights and then coming back towards the end, whether he ends up pulling off the victory or just making a good account of himself in the final round. Blackshear's never out of a fight. Now, when we look at Cody Stamann, dude's got all the skills in the world. He's extremely talented, does have short little T-Rex arms, so that's a problem for him. But he's fought some of the best in the division, so you can't really take that away from him too much with that record. So solid wrestling, good takedowns, good top control, but he hasn't been shooting as much lately. And he's been kind of sticking with his boxing, which he has pretty good boxing as well, right? He's a good striker with good combinations, keeps him basic, keeps him tight, but does well with them. And up until, I think it was his last fight, maybe the fight before, his volume used to be really good, and it kind of dropped off. And that's what gives me pause on, there's a lot of value probably on Cody Stamann here with the number, because he's a big underdog. If I knew his volume was going to be there, I might take a shot on the underdog, but I just don't know that it's going to be there because the last couple fights it hasn't been there. And I've got to take the younger guy, the guy with the measurable advantage in the height and reach. I got to go with Blackshear. But it's a close fight. I recommend passing on this one. It's one of those landmines we talk about. I could see Blackshear getting beat by Stamann, if he ups that volume again, starts looking for those takedowns at the key moments, he is a crafty veteran, and he can give a tough fight to just about anyone. I'm taking Blackshear for the sake of a pick. Stay away from the fight. Let me know what you guys think. It should be a fun welterweight matchup. Charles Radtke takes on Matthew Semelsberger. Now, their last 5 fights are a bit of the inverse. Radtke is 4-1, 1-4 on the Semelsberger side. And for Semelsberger, he's the kind of guy that is in those last 5 fights. We've seen decision points along the way where he could have won the fight, but instead just kind of made the wrong decision, and that's it. They were fights that come down to just a couple of decisions for him in a lot of cases. Some of them, no, not so much, but most of those fights, like he easily could be 3-2 in his last 5 with just a few different decisions. But here he finds himself 1-4 on the verge of potentially being cut from the UFC, fighting for his job this weekend against Chuck Buffalo. Now, for Semelsberger, good striker. He's got good forward pressure. His movement is unorthodox, but it's in a good way. So that's good. He's got good power, knockdown sort of power, not knockout power. So that could be good for Radtke here, not having to worry about just getting put out with one shot. Also, like you guys always are telling me, there's new gloves, which sometimes, I mean, like the new gloves throw me off because like you'll see somebody like Dustin Stoltzfus just flatline somebody, and you're like, really? That's not what I expected. And then you'll see, some big heavy hitters landing big shots and nobody's getting knocked out. So I don't know. Maybe they're just giving certain guys like different gloves. Maybe they give Stoltzfus like their old gloves again and nobody noticed. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But either way, enough about the gloves. Semelsberger, he's got good volume as well. He's got pretty good counters, but he is open to being countered off of his own strikes, so that is a thing for him. Decent wrestling, decent takedowns. Used to be a football player, so sometimes you'll see him just kind of football tackle somebody, which works pretty well. Extremely athletic fella. All these things are good. He's a good fighter, but like I said, the decision points. Sometimes he messes up and makes the wrong decision and ends up losing a fight because of it. Charles Radtke, good striker as well. Good forward pressure, good counter striker, plenty of power in the hands. In fact, I'd say he hits harder than Semelsberger because this dude can knock you out with one shot, and it's that lead hook. That lead hook is his knockout shot. Striking defense can be bad, let's put it that way, but he's durable, tough guy. Sure, Prates got him, but that was with a body shot as well. So he can take him on the chin pretty well, but that body shot was nasty. Grappling, he's good there. He works to advance his position right away, and he's very opportunistic in his submission attempts. When I look at this matchup, it comes down to a couple of things. One, who do I trust to be the guy that's going to be making the better decisions in there? Well, that's kind of tough. Sometimes it's tough to say, but honestly, I lean to Radtke. Who do I think is going to be the better striker? Ooh, that's close. It's kind of a wash. And then who do I think is a better grappler? I think it might be Radtke. I've got to go with Chuck Buffalo here. I think he's going to be just a little bit better. And I think he's probably, the momentum's on his side. I think he's probably going to be able to make the right decisions in this one. He's tough enough to get through the shots that Semelsberger's landing. So we're going to go with Chuck Buffalo. I think he's a slight favorite. Do with that what you will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Middleweight, where Mansur Abdul-Malik makes his UFC debut at only 6-0 on the career. And he takes on Dusko Todorovic, who is 2-3 in his last 5. Someone who looked really good on the regional scene, even has a win over Michel Pereira, but kind of just hasn't really put it all together in the UFC. Had a few injuries, things like that. And he's coming back after a pretty long layoff due to an injury. Now, for Dusko, decent striker. He's got good forward pressure, good volume. He can put together combinations, things like that. But the problem is his striking defense and his durability have just failed him on many, many occasions. He's extremely kill or be killed. And offensively, he's really good. And then defensively, not so much. It's the same in his grappling. Decent grappling. Offensively, he's pretty good. He'll actually look for submissions and stuff on the ground. He has decent takedowns, but his takedown defense has been a problem for him. He's a bit inconsistent, and that's kind of where it comes from. Like on the regional scene, he can get away with, maybe just not having as much defense, just kind of coming forward and throwing his stuff. But at the UFC level, that's tricky. But here, he's fighting a guy in his debut who essentially was on the regional scene just recently, and he's only at 6-0, so could still have some of those regional scene holes that Dusko could take advantage of. Now, when we look at Mansur Abdul-Malik, dude's wrestling is absolutely monstrous. He's a physical powerhouse. He's extremely strong in his takedowns. He has many different options. He'll catch kicks. He's got good body lock. He'll pick you up and slam you down as well. Good mat returns once you do work back to your feet, but the ground and pound, my goodness, that is his best weapon. This guy tries to put your head through the canvas. He's an absolute savage with the ground and pound. Now, something I like, he kind of floats on top of his opponents. Now, a lot of people, they're like, oh, heavy top pressure, this is good and all that. Yes, heavy top pressure is good, but what he does well, what Abdul-Malik does really well, is he'll be on the opponent and giving them pressure at first, and then when they try to move, instead he relieves the pressure and lets them move underneath him, and then resettles once they get to the spot, their new position. So he never really lets them either move him or move out from under him because he just floats above them and then resettles. It's extremely effective, especially when he's landing these big, heavy ground and pound shots, because a lot of times when you try to be heavy and land your ground and pound, you're off balance, and that's when you get rolled. He does not fall for that. So that is impressive. Now, in the striking, it's rudimentary. He's extremely powerful, and he has a long jab because he's got long arms, but he's wide open to get countered. And sure, if he hits you, you're probably going to fall, or it's going to sting. So there is that, but he could definitely get countered. And Dusko is a very, very good striker when he's on offense. Like I said, defensively, not so much. But offensively, the dude can make you pay. So Dusko's definitely got a path. I just don't see it happening very often. Mansur Abdul-Malik is going to be able to wrestle him. He's going to be able to pick him up, slam him down, and pound his head into the canvas. I think he gets a round 1 knockout due to ground and pound. That's what my prediction is. I'll see you guys in the next fight. Let me know who you have in the comments. Welterweight's next in a rematch, actually, that went to split decision quite some time ago. Nicolas Dalby takes on Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. And for Zaleski, he's 2-2 in a draw in his last 5 fights. Dalby is 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Now, Dalby did win the first fight between these two by split decision, and that should tell you a lot. This is a extremely close fight, and it was then as it is now. It's this time, I think it comes down to who do I think is going to have more left in the tank, kind of, because both these guys have been around for a while. Neither guy is a spring chicken, if you want to use that reference. Let's look at Zaleski first. Dude's a solid striker with very good volume, plenty of power. His kicks are fantastic and extremely difficult to predict. He has good knees up the middle, but he gets a little bit wild sometimes, and that can cause him to end up in positions that aren't great. Good jiu-jitsu as well. He doesn't really have great just open mat takedowns, but he can catch kicks extremely well and use that to get the takedowns. His takedown defense is pretty good, and if he is on the mat, he's very quick to attack leg locks, and he uses those to either obviously get the submission or sweep. So a lot of times, what happens if he'll go for the leg and get guys to have to defend it, and then he'll use that to curl to another position. He doesn't hold on to it too long like we see a lot of fighters do. So he does not do that. He's very good at using them. On the other side, we have Dalby. This is a guy who doesn't really do anything exceptional except for his pace and his cardio. The dude just puts a pace on people. He's tough, he's durable, and he just keeps on coming. And that's what makes him better than a lot of fighters. He's got good striking. He comes forward, good volume. His kicks are probably his best weapon, but he just comes forward and throws shots at you. Good wrestling as well. The cage push, he can do a lot up against the cage, whether that's just staying there, putting volume on guys against the cage, or just, wearing guys out. Decent takedowns as well. But like I said, it's the pace and the cardio. And ultimately, I think that's why he's going to get the win. I think he's probably going to win the later rounds. I think in the first, it's going to be close. I'd say probably the first round is Zaleski. Round 2 is going to be the swing round. I'm going to say it goes to Dalby, and I think the third round goes to Dalby. Let me know what you guys think, though, in the comments below. Strawweight matchup next between Luana Pinheiro taking on Gillian Robertson. Robertson's 4-1 in her last 5 fights and has looked fantastic since moving down to strawweight. 3-2 for Pinheiro in her last 5 fights. Couple of fights skid for her. Looked good before that. Last 2 fights have not gone her way. When we look at Robertson, solid grappler. That is what she does, and that's what she does well. Decent takedowns. She's very persistent. Her skill in the takedowns isn't great, but she's persistent, and she will try to get the fight to the mat. She's not one of those fighters that although they have a clear advantage somewhere, just fail once and then stop trying to do what they need to do. She will continue to try to get takedowns. That is one thing that I am extremely in favor of certain fighters doing. Robertson is one of them. She can't strike on the feet very well. She needs to get the takedowns, and she sticks to it. She's always attacking submissions. She's got a good rear naked choke and an arm bar. Those are her 2 moves. Those are her 2 best moves. She can get other finishes. Those are the 2 she goes for. Good transitions, heavy ground and pound to set up her subs. This is something that's new for her. She before wouldn't go for the ground and pound as often, but lately, I guess over the past year, probably, her ground and pound has leveled up extremely high compared to where it was before. Girl lands some heavy shots. In the striking, decent, I guess. She's got an improving one too, and she's tough, so she can come through what her opponents are throwing, and she can just kind of force her way into the range. Now, the cardio is going to be in her favor in this fight. She's going to be there in the third round, whereas her opponent may not be, because although Luana Pinheiro is a very fast starter and does really good in the first round, her cardio fades pretty hard. Now, so solid grappler, judo background. She has very good judo throws. She's got very nasty submissions and violent ground and pound herself. Her ground and pound is probably maybe the better of the two. I don't know. Gillian's really leveled that up, but I would say Pinheiro has some very good ground and pound, very good submissions, and those throws are excellent. She has more power on the feet too. She's a decent striker, but the problem is her cardio is going to fade. Now, here's the deal, guys. I want to address this now because I get this comment a lot. If you ask me who my most confident pick is, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm not going to respond to you. Or maybe I'll say something that just is like, hey, check out the Patreon because my picks with confidence ratings are over on the Patreon. I'm not going to just give away stuff that people are paying for free. I'm sorry. It's just the way it works. So if you would like the picks with confidence ratings, you can find those over on the Patreon. You can buy just that individual post if you just want that one post, or you can sign up for a membership. The $9.99 per month membership is what you get all of the good stuff for. But yeah, I mean, otherwise it's like $3 is the minimum price, and that's what you can get for the picks with confidence rating. So there is that. Now, if you want to just pay one $3 purchase for that specific post. The reason I say this, because I'm going to give you one free one. My most confident pick on the card is Gillian Robertson. She's getting this fight done. I do not think that Pinheiro can finish Gillian Robertson in the first round. And I do not think that Pinheiro can keep up with Gillian Robertson past that first round, because Robertson's not going to give up on herself. She's not going to go out there and just kind of allow herself to be controlled by someone like Pinheiro, especially when Pinheiro starts to fade. Robertson is going to be able to get her ground and pound going, her submissions going. She's going to get on top. She's going to work the better grappling. And on the feet, she might not be winning, but as Pinheiro gets tired, she can even take over on the feet. Gillian Robertson gets this one done. Easiest pick on the card. Let me know what you guys think. Super interesting matchup at middleweight between a couple of grapplers here. Gerald Meerschaert takes on Reinier de Ridder, who is making his UFC debut after having a lot of success, being, I believe, a 3-division at one point champion over in ONE FC. Now, he comes to the UFC after, having a couple of losses, getting another win on the regional stream, but he lost to their current, I believe, 2-division champion. So 3-2 in the last 5, but realistically, he's only lost to the same guy twice, and that guy is currently the ONE FC champion. So on the other side, Meerschaert, 3-2 in his last 5 fights. This dude is the guy who is known for taking a beating early on and coming back and getting the win. And we could see that here. Who knows? This is a fight where that is a very viable option. When we start on the de Ridder side, absolutely solid grappler. His judo and his jiu-jitsu combination is great. He has excellent throws. This is something that you don't see at this level very often. You don't see at the UFC level somebody, especially at 185 pounds, who can judo toss somebody the way that Reinier de Ridder does. He has decent takedowns, like traditional style takedowns. He can hit them, but the throws are definitely what he wants to use to get the fight to the mat. Absolutely massive submission arsenal, and he uses his ground and pound very effectively on the mat. Now, in the striking, he's tall and long, so the knees are pretty good. Like, he can send that knee up the middle and usually hit the chin. And he's got a decent jab also because of his natural just length. I mean, he's like 6'4", so something like that. 6'3", 6'4", something like that. Pretty tall dude. So that's good for him. He has those things, but he's definitely more of a grappler than a striker. On the other side, the same is true for Gerald Meerschaert. Now, for Meerschaert, more of a jiu-jitsu guy than a judo guy, so there's that. Massive toolbox on the ground. Dude's extremely active off his back. That's where he's getting his wins. The dude is like setting records for submissions in the middleweight division. Very opportunistic with his submissions. The problem is sometimes he is willing to work from his back, and a lot of times it takes him getting knocked down or beaten up to get to the back and then work his submission from his back. So the dude takes a beating first to get there. Now, on the feet, he isn't lost. He's got a decent jab, and he's got a pretty good set of basic boxing combinations. But typically it's because he's got a longer wingspan than his opponent. And actually in this matchup, de Ridder's going to have the longer wingspan. So that's going to change that jab dynamic a little bit for Meerschaert. Although I do think his striking is a little cleaner than de Ridder. De Ridder's going to have the length on his side, so that is something to take into account. Oh boy, this should be fun. This could be one of those landmines I talked about. So this fight here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to kick my feet up on the coffee table. I'm going to crack open one of them ice cold root beers that you guys apparently also enjoy. And I'm just going to enjoy this fight. I want to see where de Ridder's at the UFC, like compared to the UFC level. And there is no better litmus test than someone like Gerald Meerschaert. So I'm going to take the Ritter because I think he adds a lot of fun dynamics to the division, and I think that his skill set is going to be really tough to beat with the grappling. And if he can get a win over Mearshart here, that'll prove that. Now, it could be a situation where he's winning early and then gets beat late because Mearshart is just the guy in round 3, and I would not be surprised one bit. But let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys down in the comments. We're at bantamweight. Ricky Turcios takes on Bernardo Sopai. Both of these guys are 3-2 in their last 5 fights. For Sopai, good striker, good power, and good counters. That's what he likes to do on the feet. Counter strike with power shots. Now, in the grappling, the dude he's pretty good there too. He likes to get to the body lock and stick to it. From there, he'll work trips. He'll get his takedowns, but he'll keep the body lock no matter what and just wear on people with that. He'll mix in the ground and pound and start looking for submissions, things like that, but the body lock stays on unless he's using his arms to either attack with a submission or ground and pound. And then whenever he needs to, he goes back to that body lock so he can keep with the mat returns, things like that, and just stay on his opponents. On the other side, Ricky Turcios, good striker. Volume is really good, and he puts together combinations, but there was that fight, he moves against Zahabi, where he just threw a bunch of shots and missed all of them. Or not all of them, but it was horrible. He just kept missing, but he just kept throwing at air. So sometimes he has performances like that, but other times he has performances where he's just putting numbers on guys, and that's where he's starting to win fights because his power is low. He doesn't hit super hard, but the dude can just put numbers up because he has fantastic cardio, and he can keep doing that for an entire 15 minutes, no problem. He's a good grappler, mostly defensively. He has an active guard, good sweeps, good scrambles, things like that. He can grapple offensively, but he ends up doing it mostly defensively, and I think that's what he's going to have to do here. Ultimately, I don't think the power from Turcios is going to be enough to stop Sopai from coming forward, and I think that's why he's going to be able to get to the body lock, do what he needs to do there, and I think he's going to be able to land the harder shots. So we're taking Sopai here to get a bounce back after that UFC debut loss. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. A strawweight matchup here where Karolina Kowalkiewicz takes on Denise Gomes. Denise Gomes is 3-2 in her last 5 fights, 4-1 for Kowalkiewicz. She had a bit of a career resurgence there for a bit. She went on a pretty long losing streak and then right into a pretty long winning streak. So interesting for her. Now in this matchup here, it's the young up-and-comer versus the grizzled vet kind of deal. Denise Gomes, she's a good striker with good forward pressure, very good power. This girl hits hard for a 115-pounder. She's got very heavy kicks. Striking defense, she just kind of comes forward and throws hands, so her defense is lax, but she's pretty tough, pretty durable. Decent grappling offensively. She's got pretty good takedowns when she needs to use them, but she can be held down by people who are better grapplers. On the other side, for Kowalkiewicz, she's probably the cleaner striker. She's a solid striker with decent power, good combinations, good volume, things like that, but she's not going to have the aggression that you're going to get out of Gomes, and that's going to kind of level the playing field between these two strikers, although I think the cleaner striker is Kowalkiewicz. Now, wrestling, decent. It's a wrinkle she added to her game more recently. She's got decent takedown defense, decent takedowns. If she starts mixing in the takedowns on Gomes, she could use that to success. But realistically, what I think happens is it's just going to be the younger fighter who's just going to be coming forward, throwing heat, is going to be able to put too much pressure on Kowalkiewicz, and I think she's going to win the fight with the better shots. Maybe not more shots, but the better shots and the better pressure, and I think that the fight is going to go to Denise Gomes. We're taking her to get the win. Let me know what you guys think. Bantamweight matchup here. Cody Garbrandt takes on Miles Johns. Now, for Cody Garbrandt, it's been a rough run. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, but he's fought some tough competition. He's gotten it done when he's took that step down, but when he goes back up to fight those top-level guys, that's when he starts to fall again. Miles Johns, 3-1 in a no contest in his last 5. Looked pretty good lately. Johns has done well. That no contest was, I believe it was like Adderall or something like that, so whatever. For Miles Johns, the dude's well-rounded, right? Good striker, plenty of power, likes to counter-strike well. His volume can be a bit off sometimes, but powerful shots are what Cody Garbrandt does not want to eat, so there is that. Now, in the wrestling department, he's good there as well. Good takedowns, good top control. The dude's all around a good fighter, and I think he can use his skill set to have some success here. Now, on the other side, Cody Garbrandt should be the better striker. He's got excellent footwork. Dude's got good combinations, very good speed, and probably maybe even more power in his hands. If the dude connects clean on your chin, you're probably going to hit the dirt. His durability is suspect, though, at times. Now, here's the deal. He took a couple of shots in that fight with Figueiredo, and Figueiredo is the only person to knock down Marlon Vera, if my memory is correct. So, I mean, Figueiredo hits hard, and even up at bantamweight. So sometimes Garbrandt's chin's good, and then other times it's just not. So I don't know. I think I have a suspicion that it has to do with how that weight cut particularly went for him. So I don't know that Garbrandt's chin is shot, but it does seem to have its days where it is not as good. In the wrestling, I understand he got taken down by Figueiredo. Figueiredo's a top-tier fighter, guys. Stop acting like Figueiredo can't grapple. The dude can take people down. Yes, Cody Garbrandt got taken down by Deiveson Figueiredo and out-grappled. Figueiredo's a better grappler than most people in the division. I say most. There are better than him, but most. I mean, he's no Umar. Let's put it that way. But good wrestling, good takedowns, good scrambles, things like that. If he needs to go to his wrestling here offensively, I think he can. I think this is a matchup that it kind of comes down to this. Can Miles Johns either get on top of Cody Garbrandt and win minutes that way or get the knockout? Because I think the volume is going to be on the Garbrandt side. I think the prettier striking is going to be on the Garbrandt side. And I think if Johns doesn't get on top of Garbrandt, I think Garbrandt can also offensively wrestle. So I've got to take Garbrandt here with some really, really heavy concerns. That was rough. Because, like I said, the durability we don't really know. And Miles Johns, I know he's not like, Garbrandt's not old, but like he's had a long, tough career in the UFC. So we're taking Garbrandt. Be cautious, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. We reached our main event of the evening, and folks, if you've been enjoying this video, maybe you've got a little something out of this, do me a favor, hit the like button. It does go a long way to helping the channel. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. Now let's break down this main event. We have Neil Magny, the guy that the UFC calls when they have to give someone the test to see if they're ready for the top. He takes on Carlos Prates. This is in the welterweight division. Now, Prates, he's 5-0 in his last 5 fights. The guy has looked absolutely unbeatable since coming to the UFC. Now, he'll give up some minutes. He'll maybe not be winning every second of the fight, but at any moment, this dude can just put your lights out. And new gloves or not, the dude hits hard enough that it does not matter. So, Carlos Prates, he's 5-0 in his last 5, and he's just been torching people. Now, on the other side, Neil Magny, it's 2-3 in his last 5, not looking great. But the guys that this dude fights are the top-level guys, and he beats the guys that aren't ready for that top. If you are not ready to be a main eventer, Neil Magny is going to beat you, and he's going to make you pay, especially in the later rounds, because he's going to still be there. Now, when we look at this, Carlos Prates, solid striker. That is what he is. Extreme amounts of power. He's got good long, straight punches, very powerful kicks. He works that front kick to the body. That's what we saw him beat Charles Radtke with. That is an excellent weapon for him. He'll throw it kind of like it'll be either a teep kick or he'll throw it like he's throwing, kind of like he's trying to kick down a door. He'll throw it like that sometimes. He'll mix it up. Now, he'll use his roundhouse kicks to either the head or the legs a lot, and those are also devastating. His volume can be a little low, and I think it's because he's pacing himself trying to pick his shots. But I could see a situation where if he does not get Magny out of there, Magny's just going to be doing more. So be ready for that if you are on the Prates side at like minus 750 or whatever it's at now. So just be careful with that. He does keep his hands kind of low. That's mostly for takedown defense. And he's also usually the longer, taller guy. Magny's a pretty long, tall guy. So he's going to have to worry about that range a bit too. Now his takedown defense is pretty good. It wasn't for his whole career. And that's why early in his career you saw some losses from the grappling. But he's fixed that, it seems. He's looked a lot better ever since. Now for Magny, the dude is just good everywhere. Dude's got excellent cardio, though, and that's how he's going to win this fight if he wins this fight. It's going to be just being there and doing more throughout the fight, being able to put up whatever he needs to do, get through the tough stuff, and then in the third, really turning it up. He does have good striking, good long straights. He uses elbows extremely well as people try to close in past that range. And he's got good striking defense. He doesn't get hit a lot, and I think a lot of it is simply because he's able to stay at range well. And then when that gap does close, he can clinch up and push you against the cage, which his grappling is good because of that. That cage push, the wall install is a great way to eliminate the tools of Carlos Prates. If you wall install Prates using that cage push, he can't really use that power or anything like that. This is going to be a great game plan for Magny. Decent takedowns, decent top pressure, but the wall install, just working that up against the cage, doing that veteran style is how he's going to get this win. But with that said, I'm done picking against Carlos Prates. This guy proved me wrong. I picked Li Jingliang thinking like, dude, nobody's knocking out the Leech. No, I was wrong. He knocked him out, just done for. So I figured the Leech would be able to have more volume. That was true. But yeah, it didn't matter. This dude hits like a truck, and I think it's as much as I think Magny has a path here, and at the values on the Magny side, I just can't pick against Prates. We're going Prates. The guy's just an absolute killer. He'll be out there just landing big, merciless shots. And that's what we're going to get. So thank you guys for tuning in. If you've enjoyed this video, again, hit that like button for me. I do appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Enjoy the card.